Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the July 8th, 2020 meeting of the Ascension Parish Planning Commission. Please note that all members, all commissioners are present. I'd ask everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, can we get a staff introduction, please?
Stacy Webb, Secretary for Planning Commission.
Jerome Fournier, Director of Planning and Development.
Eric Poche, Parish Planner.
Sean Chereau, Engineering Review Agency.
All right, next item on the agenda is the chairman's comments. The chair has no comments tonight. Item number 6 on the agenda is a public comment on any agenda item. We have one public hearing scheduled on a family partition, in which case we will have a public hearing on that. But if there's anyone here to speak on any other agenda item that's not scheduled for a public hearing? Ms. Stacy, is anyone signed up? All right. Moving on then to staff report, item number 7, a subdivision staff report. Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, you have in front of you the normal monthly subdivision status report with any changes noted by an asterisk as far as the relation to final plat approvals, completion, construction, etc. You will notice the list is getting shorter and shorter all the time. But if you folks have any questions about anything, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions? All right, moving on. Number 8 is the engineering staff report.
There's no report this evening.
Thank you. Number 9 is the minutes, and we need to approve 2 sets of minutes. Number 9A is approval or denial of the minutes and written decisions of the May 20th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting. Motion by Mr. Chasson, second by Mr. Schexnayder. All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Item 9B is approval or denial of the minutes and written decisions of the June 10th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting. Moved by Mr. Dumas, second by Mr. Furman. All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Item number 10 is the consent agenda. There are 2 items on the consent agenda. Item number 10A is affidavit of mortgage declaration for Carol K. Hilton, Lot C2, 40210 Barbera Road, Prairieville, Louisiana. 9B is an affidavit of mortgage declaration for Elena Ardoin, Lot 21, 40206 Barbara Road in Prairieville. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda? Moved by Mr. Furman, second by Mr. Dumas. All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes. Item number 11 is general business. 11A, consideration for modification to conditions for Highland Trace subdivision and Parks at Water Oak subdivision to provide for the entering into a cooperative endeavor agreement between the developer and the governing authority of Ascension Parish regarding the infrastructure improvements. Mr. Fournier, do you want, this was amended or added to the agenda yesterday. Do you want to
It
brief us
was,
on this?
yes, and I'd
please?
like to brief the commission on this. Commissioners, Highland Trace subdivision and Water Oak subdivision are 2 developments by one developer. Both have a similar requirement that the traffic circle at the corner of Bro and Germany Road be complete, or that a traffic signal be located at that intersection prior to any certificates of occupancy, COs, be issued for that project, all right, for either project. The developer has commissioned or is ready to commission for a temporary traffic signal at that intersection to the tune of $70,000, approximately $70,000. The parish is about ready to enter into a contract to construct the traffic circle at that intersection. And I have Joey Tureau, who's our transportation engineer, to discuss that a little bit further. The parish is looking at the situation in terms of a timing, and the developer has offered to provide the parish with $70,000 in lieu of putting up the traffic signal. All right, so the parish is willing to accept that as a remedy for that temporary position, because we are entering into a contract to construct the traffic circle. The other project, which is called Water Oak, the Parks at Water Oak, is required to put in a left turn and a right turn lane into that project on Germany Road. That project is going to be let by the parish for a road widening, and we're studying, we're acquiring the right-of-way, and we are going to be widening that section of road. So any construction of a right turn lane or a left turn lane would probably be ripped out when we actually do the road widening. So on that particular situation, the developer is willing to put up close to $500,000 for the cost of that construction and give that money to the parish. If we remove the condition that says that the COs have to be, will be issued once those conditions are met. All right, so what we're looking at right now is that the developer is willing to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement with the parish, put up the money for both the temporary traffic signal as well as the road widening, give that to the parish in lieu of it being ripped out at a later date, which won't be too long from now. All right, so that's what's under consideration tonight.
Were the conditions that we placed on both of those projects subject to the level of service at that intersection of Germany Road and Bro Road falling below the required statutory level of service post-development?
Yes, they were. So
And
when the
didn't
traffic-
we,
when the
and
traffic-
refresh my memory, didn't we recently go through this same situation with Oak Lake where their level of service was below the level required post-development until the traffic circle was built? And we said, well, you either have to wait till the traffic circle comes or you have to put in your own turn lanes. And they came back multiple times to us, supposedly with proposals to avoid those conditions or to be released from those conditions. And each time they came, they ended up pulling themselves off the agenda because they knew that it wasn't going to happen.
Right, what you state is correct.
Any questions by the other commissioners? Yeah.
Mr. Fournier, I have a real issue about whenever the developers are asking us to basically pay for infrastructure improvements so they don't get ripped up. And I'm not using this particular one as an example, but for instance, there's an improvement at Germany at Airline Highway for Silver Oaks PUD that is still, over 2 years ago, still hasn't been completed. And they've had multiple deaths at that intersection. I'm sorry, I'm not willing to back down on these improvements must be done before those intersections are okay. I can't agree with it any longer.
Commissioner Shake Snyder, that is one example of where we did enter into this type of agreement. They did have a condition on the Silver Oaks apartment complex and subdivision that said that they would build a right turn lane.
Mhm.
They put up the money instead.
Yeah.
We are ready to enter into a contract at that intersection to improve it, which was well beyond what the right turn lane would have considered for that project. And we got considerably more money from the developer than what would have been acquired had we just put in the right turn lane.
Right.
So,
But do we have any statutory authority that allows us, I mean, the level of service, and we went through this all a couple years ago where we increased the traffic study, increased the parameters of the traffic study, secondary to the level of service at affected intersections. Just the other day, or just 2 months ago, we denied a subdivision that technically met the level of service, but because not every artery going into that intersection met the level of service, this commission denied a preliminary plat on that. And so I don't know how we can't stay consistent if we say, well, we're going to require it for some developers, but not require it for other developers who are willing to put up money, to give money to the parish to buy their way out of the conditions. That's my concern about it. We have to be consistent, or we are going to face charges, rightfully so, of arbitrariness.
I mean,
So,
this
Jerome,
becomes a
one-
timing issue on this one. I mean, we're not trying to allow the developer to buy himself out of the conditions. It's basically a timing issue, and he's willing to construct or put up the temporary light. He's willing to construct the turn lanes.
What's
Now,
the
I'll
time?
let Mr. Bur-
I was gonna say, what's the time difference between, I mean, obviously, I understand, why pay $500,000 to put in a lane that's gonna be ripped up? But at the same time, I agree, we can't change what we've done where we go back on the conditions. So what is the difference in time? I mean, if he wants to put up the money to add the lane, instead of putting one in to be ripped up, that's fine, but I still think we have to hold them to the condition that the certificate of occupancy can't be issued until the remediation, whatever that is, whether it's the turn lane from the parish with contribution from him or a temporary lane from him that will remediate the traffic impact is completed. And so if he puts in the temporary turn lane, when would the first CO be issued versus when the parish constructs it? If they're putting in something different, well, I mean, is there a time difference there? Same with the light. I mean, what are we looking at? Because
what it sounds like.
at the end of the,
Can I answer this, Jerome?
yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, if it's going to be at the same time, then
I understand y'all's concerns. What we're trying to do is what's best for the parish is what would be cheaper for the parish in the long run. The level of service question that the commissioner had, the roundabout was already planned when we came before you in September of 2018, almost 2 years ago. And so the level of service was already getting taken care of. My subdivision did not create a worse situation. It's just that y'all wanted the roundabout in place before we came online.
Yeah, but the part you don't understand is that the only reason why you complied with the traffic is because the roundabout was planned to be there and it was included.
Right,
The
and that was-
roundabout isn't there, and that's why the condition is there, is because
Understood.
your buildings are gonna generate the trips, and that needs to be there
So-
before the trips are generated.
Correct. And Joey Thoreau has said that they're trying to start the roundabout within 8 months, I believe. So it would be the next project on their roundabout guidance. We just sold lots in that subdivision last week. The first home's certificate of occupancy won't be for probably 60 to 75 days from now. So you're looking at maybe a dozen homes when 8 months comes along to have a temporary traffic signal that, according to Burt Moore, is not going to operate better than this four-way stop that you have now. I already have the check written to the traffic signal installer to get it done, just trying to save a lot of heartache on that and give the money to the parish instead, since the roundabout's coming. And as far,
But you see, the problem that I see with that, and look, I know Joey's a good guy, and I believe that they're trying to get it done within 8 months. But Oak Lake, which is out on Highway 44, when they started that, they said, oh, no, the roundabout's going to be here by the end of the year. Well, it was actually the end of the next year and into 2020 before that roundabout was finally finished.
is that DOTD related?
It's DOTD related, it's government related. I mean, Highway 42's been being improved for eons. Mr. Schecksnyder brought up the whole Silver Lake, which is right next to that intersection that you're talking about. So I don't doubt that the intention's there to get the roundabout done in 8 months. I haven't seen a government project like that that really works on time, and that's the problem that I have.
Well, we've been
And
talking
I
about
think
it for
that-
3 years. We've been working on it and the timeline, and it just so happens that now we actually know the timeline.
Well, that's, yeah, but you just said it, we've been working on it for 3 years. I mean, it's
Right.
been in the works,
But we
so
have
to
a
speak. But
within
until
the
it's
year
there,
timeline
it's not
now.
there, and that's.
Okay, that's fine, whatever. On the turn lane for Germany, I'd like to say that the traffic study mentioned there would be no need for any turn lane if there was under 72 lots in that subdivision. So, again, we can put the turn lane in, prepared to do it, spend the $500,000, but y'all gonna have to come behind us.
And that's okay.
Well,
That's okay.
If they all wanna do it, that's fine.
It's a safety issue.
It won't get to 72 lots by the time.
It
that
doesn't
that's
matter. If you have one more house on Germany Road, and you're coming right across the street from those other two subdivisions, that is a dangerous situation.
It's not according to the traffic study.
Well,
It's
the
not.
traffic study
And-
is
and-
questionable.
Questionable. It's been reviewed by the parish. And I understand you guys are in a tough position, but the real world about
So wait a
how
minute.
construction occurs is different sometimes than what you guys put on these approvals 2 years ago.
I'd
And
like
so
to-
that's
And
the
I
only
also
thing
made
we're
you
trying to
aware,
clarify.
and
I-
excuse me, sir, I also made you aware for this approval. And I told you, if this roundabout's not done, don't come back to us asking for this.
Okay?
Let
I'm
me
fine
ask
with
you-
that. I'm trying to save the parish $70,000.
$70,000 is not worth one wreck.
Of course
possibility
not.
of one
course not.
wreck.
That's not what we're saying.
So, Jerome, if I may, can I ask our ERA to a quick question, please? On this subdivision, he just made an interesting statement that I caught. The turn lane was not required until after he reached a 72 lot count.
That's, I don't have the stuff in front of me, but it's not uncommon to do, what is the breaking point for when a turn lane is required? I don't know if it's 72, 50, I haven't looked at this.
You don't have it, you
It
don't have
was
it in front of you.
72, it was 72 cars.
There
Or
was a
72
number.
lots.
A lot of them, it's like, that's how Oak Lake got to the point they were, is like the trigger point was once you got to the third filing.
Right.
So I don't have the number, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did that scenario. What is the breaking point? Just to, can we approve just the first filing? I think they tried to even maybe consider to do a different filing, maybe for the parks at Oak. And then either, for whatever reason, that did not come to the planning commission.
Right. The day of that meeting, the previous councilman called me and said, I can't do this. I'm not voting for it. And he just didn't understand what we were trying to do. So we pulled it and said, forget it. We'll just build the turn lane. That's where we're still there. We just wanted to come back and say, look, we have a lot more clarity. And if Joey wants to speak to that from Move
Well,
Ascension
I'd
standpoint,
like
these
to
are
hear
both
from
Move
Joey
Ascension
where we
projects.
are in the permitting process for this improvement.
I just want to offer, where we're at with the preparation of these two projects. The parish, as far as the Germany at Airline Highway project, we just finished a fencing contract. The clearing has been completed by parish forces. The fencing has been completed by a contract. There's a little bit of utility relocation work. Otherwise, we're ready to let that project, in the next 2 to 3 months, we'll let that project for the turn lanes at Germany at Airline Highway. The roundabout, I guess we could, if we're optimistic, we could say it'll be let in about 5 months. If we're pessimistic, pending something crazy happening, it would be like 7 or 8 months. But that's another one. The right-of-way is just about completed. The clearing is completed. It's ready for utility companies to put some effort into there. We will be letting it towards the end of the year. It is not an extremely long duration project. We're thinking about 3 to 4 months it should be completed. So we anticipate in the spring of next year, there's a good chance that roundabout will be completed.
What about the widening of the road versus the temporary turn lanes?
So the widening
Getting ready to
of
widen
Germany
the
Road, now that's a project that's further down the road. The entire Germany Road project is probably a year and a half away from being completed.
And that's assuming everything is optimistic, right? Like Henry was supposed to be finished in December of 2018, and we haven't right-of-way acquisition yet, much less moving any bit of dirt, clearing, grubbing, anything. So, I mean, you're talking if everything falls in perfect, right?
I'm assuming there's somebody else and the people who did 44, right?
Well,
Because, I mean, that's how you.
we're doing apples and oranges here.
I was just saying,
Right.
that's just like watching a nightmare unfold.
I mean, I have a Move Ascension hat on right now,
Okay.
so I'm talking about Move Ascension. We've generally been hitting guidelines. We have 6 projects under construction right now. They're all progressing nicely. The other projects that I mentioned, which includes the roundabout and the Germany at Airline Highway turn lane, it's on schedule. We're doing good with those. We anticipate those to be let very soon. We've got other projects too that we're going to be letting another project. The Seabrook project is going to be let the end of this month or early next month. So these projects are funded, they're moving. Generally, the funding is certainly the big problem. Right-of-way acquisition is a problem, but we're getting all that knocked out. That's not been a big issue. We've got good consultants on board. We've got, the parish themselves have pitched in, and we're generally hitting guidelines. Our timelines are going pretty darn good.
I mean, I understand that the idea of saving money, if everything was perfect, that's ideal. It's been our experience that those timelines haven't been lined up as well as it should. The safety widening of Germany needs to happen. And in fact, really and truly, probably before any more subdivisions need to be built, that safety widening needs to happen anyway. But I just don't think that this is worth saving even that $500,000, the $70,000. I just don't think it's worth it. And I know it's a poor timing issue for somebody. I do feel for them. But they have existing residents there that I just think that we got to consider them as well.
And I'll just offer that the administration is for it. We would prefer to have that money and not, as like with the roundabout, if we could, put that money towards the roundabout and save that taxpayer money and have it be for a permanent installation, we're all for it. And it's going to be a better fix than the traffic signals.
Well, we don't have a public hearing scheduled on this. This is just up to us to decide whether or not we want to grant this modification in lieu of the payment. And so, if
Can we
anybody,
even do that without a public hearing?
well,
It-
Cody's
it's-
not here,
It's
but
just
yeah.
basically, is it a recommendation from us, Jerome, that you
No,
want?
this would be a recommendation to remove the condition and to allow the parish to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement with the parish council.
Okay.
And according to Cody's, who I spoke to today, he said, we're not required to do a public hearing on this.
Okay,
Right.
Jerome, look, just in the interest of consideration, the public was here when these petitions came before us, and there was a lot of discussion about the traffic, and clearly there's a possibility that there is at least some lots, like we did with Oak Lake, where they could have a portion of it while this is going on. In the interest of going about this in an orderly fashion, could we maybe make sure that we have all of the information about the traffic and what was considered back then, so that we can analyze this properly and make a rational decision? I mean,
Do you wanna
look, I'm
move
all
for a public
for,
hearing?
I'm all for these joint projects between government and private industry to make things better for the community. That's the whole premise of many of the conditions that I've driven, but we don't even have the information to
Do
consider.
you want to move for a public hearing on this
No,
next month? And
go next month, yeah.
I'd like to move, to postpone this, if it's okay with, with Ricky. I'd like to have the information here so we can analyze it properly and have a legitimate hearing about this.
Well, I'd like Mr. Compton to speak
Please,
on
yeah.
behalf of the administration on this, so, yeah.
Good evening, everybody. I think what I want to just put into this conversation is, this isn't without some in-depth conversation that we've had with the administration and the chairman of the Transportation Committee in light of constructing things that are simply just going to be wiped off the face of the earth not long after they're built. So the administration is in full support of this concept, and I can appreciate wanting to have additional information. The reason we pulled the trigger so fast is because when Mr. Berthelot called me, the check was literally in the mailbox. And so if you postpone this, we instantly lose that 70,000 because he's going to get the signal put up because he doesn't want to cost time for the first subdivision. So if we're postponing it for the second discussion about the turn lanes. But in our minds, from the administration perspective, close to $600,000 is not just a small drop in the bucket, and it enables us to look at another project sooner rather than later. So that's the reason we put it before you tonight, is because with the timing that Mr. Toureau talked about, and with the timing that Mr. Berthelot and his partners are working on to get this subdivision built, we just felt that they were so close. We are actually working on drafting an ordinance that starts to talk about how do we deal with this moving forward, about conditions for infrastructure improvements, be it road, drainage, sewage, that when a development is 2 or 3 years out being developed and there's a condition of approval, allow us to reanalyze what that condition was and would we prefer, and in lieu of payment, instead of constructing those improvements because it overlaps with some 1 year, 2 year, some pending project, not some 5 or 10-year vision project, but something that's coming. So we're working on that as we speak, but yeah, the 70,000, that's why we're here tonight, is because the check was literally in the mail.
Well, and I would encourage Mr. Berthelot that, we really, I think we've all been here and proven to be supportive of these private government partnership to further for the best benefit of the community and for St. John Parish. So I would encourage him to be patient. 30 days is not going to make a difference, whether or not he gets his approval or not, and it gives us an opportunity to analyze this better, to ensure that the community is protected and the parish gets every bit of the bang for the buck that it can get. So that's just, to me, 30 days is not going to affect him any, because if he can get 72 lots and that'll make him happy, 30 days from there, that won't make a difference, especially if he just sold the lots and he's just getting the permit.
But according to the ordinance, he can't build the first lot until that traffic improvement is done,
He can't get the CO.
the CO. You can
No, but
build,
he's just
but,
got-
yeah.
You just sold them, so he's just not permitting them. So
I thought you said you did. Were there some lots permitted? I mean,
are they
built?
constructed already and you're closing, or are they just permitted?
I mean,
So
he's
you
got
just
everything
sold them.
clear and grubbed, and he,
Okay, so there's 2 subdivisions that we're talking about. The one on Bro Road was 60 lots. We just sold the 60 lots. So the first homes are in plan review right now,
Oh, okay, so
And-
there you go.
and probably the first certificates of occupancy will be requested on those in about 75 days. Okay?
Perfect.
So you might have a dozen homes coming online in the next 3 months.
Okay, so 30 days is not gonna matter, because they're in permitting, so it wouldn't matter. I mean, it's just
What do you
not
mean,
gonna affect.
30 days for a delay? Well, it takes 60 days to build the things.
No, I know,
The
but
traffic, no, the traffic light takes 60 days. So I have to either get the traffic light contractor going in the next week or so, or I'm not gonna make my timeline on those homes to have the traffic light in place. So the traffic light is a tonight decision. For the turn lane, we're still working on, we're reworking a water line issue there, so I may not have to do anything within 30 days, but it's gonna be very close. But listen, either way, I'm fine with whatever y'all wanna do. I've just had a lot of discussions with Ricky and the administration about this, and we thought it would be a good idea. Either way, I'm bound to spending the money, so it's not about that. It's just about trying to help out and take real-world situations that's going on and make it work a little bit better for the parish.
And all we're asking you is for 30 days so that we can address the community interest, the public interest, and really analyze this equitably so that we can make a rational decision. I mean, it's not that what you're asking us to do is wrong, it's just that we don't have the information, and I'd like to see the information. That's
and
all.
Mr. Berthel, I do want to say, and I want to, correct me if I'm wrong, but did I understand that you said that the traffic light is not going to work much better than the existing four-way?
I think it's gonna be worse.
Okay.
According to the traffic.
Why
engineer.
is it that your traffic engineer suggests otherwise? Because they
It's your
suggested
traffic
that,
engineer. It's your traffic engineer.
well, shouldn't your traffic engineers recommended that as a solution?
No, you guys put that four-way, you put a temporary traffic light as your solution until the roundabout's built.
But that was based on the engineering review agency hired
Correct.
by the parish, correct?
I'm sorry, that was based on a traffic study that was prepared for the project. And on table 4 of the traffic study, it lists 9 different scenarios for an AM peak hour and a PM peak hour. And the traffic signal, according to the traffic study, does render a solution to that project, to that intersection, right?
So we based that condition on the traffic study that was it done by the parish or was it done by Mr. Berthelot?
Mr. Berthelot's consultant,
I understand.
which
what
was
you're saying.
reviewed by the parish and approved.
Jerome, what were the levels of service? I don't, because didn't look at this
Well-
recently, but.
If I
This is
could,
why we need this information.
So I think the question that we have to answer, we can either make a motion to approve or deny the modification, or, as I think Mr. Dumas suggested, we can make a motion to table this for 30 days, schedule it for a public hearing, and have more information provided to us. I mean, this was added to the agenda last night, or
it was,
yesterday.
and we didn't have enough time to get the
Right.
whole package to you, obviously.
And I would go back, I think there would be a lot of people, judging from previous public hearings on these exact same issues, many of whom were vocally supportive of the administration, who would have said, don't do this. You put the conditions on, stick to the conditions. I mean, and that's not a consideration so much for us, because I think our consideration is what the law allows us to do. We're not here to be politicians and to bend the political will. We're appointed to follow the Land Development Code and to make sure it's being enforced. And I think we did that the first time around, so if we are going to go against that, we need to make sure that we can do it legally and what's in the best interest of the community. So, Mr. Poche, you,
I have, Eric's up there because John, can you put the overhead on, please?
Yeah, if you wanted to see the levels of service of the original traffic report.
We're having some issues with our AV equipment.
What did I do? Did I do anything?
There you go.
Oh, I guess it helped if I turned it on,
What you'll be seeing is a table that was produced by his traffic engineer that shows the level of service at the intersection of Germany and Borough Road. Right, we get that on there. And zoom out a little bit, Eric, if you can. There you go. The top set of tables, the first 9 lines, are the AM peak trips, and then the bottom are the PM peak hour trips, all right? And so as you can see, under the existing condition, in the southbound approach, it's at a level F. And the lines 7, 8, and 9 show what happens if they have a traffic signal there. It actually brings it up to a B and a C level. Line number 6 shows the roundabout, and you can see how the roundabout basically cures almost everything there and brings the level of service to almost an A in all categories, all right? But the bottom 3 lines, 7, 8, and 9, both in the AM and the peak end, you can see that it does improve the situation. If you look at PM peak hours on the northbound approach? Yeah, northbound approach. Right now, it's at a level F, and if the signal's there, it brings it to a B, C, and a C. All right, so the traffic signal, according to their engineer, does improve the intersection.
do we have a motion, one way or the other?
Well, I certainly would encourage Mr. Berthelot to give us a chance to really have a public hearing and analyze this correctly and not run afoul of anything. So I'm going to make a motion to defer this for 30 days and
We can schedule it for a public hearing. I think.
schedule it for a public hearing.
All right, we have
I can
a,
support that.
we have a motion by Mr. Dumas, a second by Mr. Furman. All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes. Item number 12 is a public hearing, and before we move on to 12, Mr. Funia, if you could make sure we have, that's part of our packet of the minutes from that meeting, along with the packet that, or the information that was provided in that packet. I don't remember exactly when that meeting was. And more information about this proposed cooperative endeavor agreement. All right, number 12 is a public hearing to approve or deny the following family partition. 12A is the Henry E. Ingram Jr. property, lots 4A, 2A1, and 4A, 2A2 by McGlynn Taylor. This is in Council District 6. Ms. Jackson, As always, fashionable with the face protection.
Ellen Jackson with McLean Taylor Incorporated, asking for your approval.
Staff.
All comments have been addressed on the map, and it does meet the requirements of the family petition section of the code.
All right, we'll go ahead and open a public meeting on this. Ms. Stacy, has anyone signed up to speak on this matter? We'll close the public hearing. Any questions, comments, and/or motion by the commission?
Motion to approve?
Motion by Mr. Schexnayder, second by Mr. Dumas. All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes. Item number 12 is our motion to adjourn. After we adjourn, we will be back in just a few minutes for a joint Planning and Zoning Commission. Do I have a motion to adjourn by Mr. Dumas? Meeting adjourned. We will be back in just a minute.